Let's bring in our Washington, D.C. based panel. Juashan Nora Zheng is a graduate student studying international relations at Johns Hopkins University. Sweta Chakraborty is a risk and behavioral scientist and the president of U.S. operations We Don't Have Time. And Zach Dance is a CGTN digital producer and the creator of The Optimist on TikTok. Thanks, everyone, for being with us. And Zach, let me start with you. We just heard from Yakapita Kandaka, who told us that she doesn't think that conferences like COP26 actually work. It needs to be more open and it has to involve more young people. But there are others who say, look, no matter what, these conferences do focus attention on the climate crisis. What are your thoughts on the conference and on the involvement of more young people?
Well, I absolutely agree that no matter what, we need more young people involved with every single element of the climate crisis altogether. Personally, I've been keeping a lot of attention on social media, and I have seen a lot of young people who have been traveling, climate activists trying to go to Glasgow and participate in the event, not necessarily getting to meet with world leaders, but other people who are involved. So I do think that there are some positive steps being taken.
And you do believe that COP26 has done something this time around?
I sure hope so. That's yet to be seen.
Nora, the Chinese President Xi Jinping issued a written statement to the COP26 conference on climate change. He called on countries to uphold multilateral consensus, focus on concrete actions, and accelerate the green transition. How are young people in China responding to this message?
Young people like me, we feel inspired, and we do agree that we need more ambitious actions, commitment, and now we are promoting the green transition in China and the world.
Sweta, world leaders have now left the summit in Glasgow. Now comes the hard part, which is turning those pledges into reality. And let's look at some of those pledges. They pledged to reduce emissions, move away from coal, eliminate deforestation, and deliver money to help poorer countries adapt. What do you make of it? A good start?
This is a step in the right direction, absolutely. We are talking about phasing out coal, despite the fact that US, China, other major polluters of carbon emissions still haven't signed on to that. But coal is in its last days, and that was made very clear by the President Alok Sharma, talking about the future of coal and fossil fuels at large, oil and gas especially. So that is definitely a step in the right direction. Should have been here already, but at least this is being reiterated, and there is much more support behind seeing these fossil fuels really phased out in the foreseeable future and in the coming years.
One of the big platforms this year for young voices on climate change was the Global Youth Summit on Net Zero Carbon Future. The event was organized by the Global Alliance of Universities on Climate and co-hosted by Tsinghua University, Yale, and Cambridge, among others. The forum brought together enthusiastic young people from all over the world to share their ideas and concerns about the climate crisis. Let's listen to the Global Youth Climate Declaration from the GWOC Awards ceremony.
It is our mission to fully activate the greatest potential to unlock the net zero future. However, climate-related challenges also exist in all pillars of sustainable development, including nature deterioration, biodiversity loss, energy crisis, and environmental injustice. Therefore, Climate X emphasizes the close interconnection between climate change and other UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and requires synergistic solutions to addressing these challenges. Against this backdrop, youth cooperation to promote synergy in various fields is of vital importance.
The declaration also emphasized that the young generation is a major force and youth must play a vigorous role to achieve a net zero carbon future. Xi Shenhua, the Chinese Special Climate Envoy, was among the speakers to address students at this year's Global Youth Climate Summit. The virtual event was held from October 25th through October 29th. Let's watch.
Youth play an extremely important role in the cause of achieving carbon neutrality goals. You are not only contributors to innovative solutions, but also practitioners to achieve the goal of carbon neutrality and the bearers of climate change risks and losses. The participation of more young people in the cause of tackling climate change is a key condition for achieving the goal of carbon neutrality and embarking on a long-term sustainable development path. I hope that you will fully understand the new trends, seize the new opportunities, give full play to your own advantages and actively take the initiative to better realize yourselves in this revolution.
So, Zach, as we heard, this summit was a chance for young people to engage on the climate crisis. But can forums like this spur the exchange of ideas and innovation among young people?
I sure hope so. I mean, the thing about young people is that we're the ones who have inherited this problem. Even though we haven't done anything to cause this problem, we're the ones who are going to see the long-term issues about it. And young people are frustrated. They're upset. You know, they're tired of lip service from governments and corporations. They want actual movement to happen. And so that's why you see so many people on social media and protesting in the streets who are really just trying to make their voices heard.
Shweta, if there's one thing that distinguishes this particular issue, it's the involvement of young people. But can young people put more pressure on their governments? One has to remember that they're coming up against corporate interests as well.
They absolutely can. We're talking about grassroots efforts on the ground, and COP26 embodies multilateral efforts at the highest echelons of governance. Both of these things have a role to play and must meet somewhere in the middle to actually see local to nation-state wide action take place. So we need the grassroots movements. We need groups like Sunrise. We need Zero Hour. We need Fridays for the Future, led by the youth, and the passion of the youth to then really inspire going up the chain all the way to those multilateral efforts, which will result in countrywide policy that really moves the needle forward on seeing the end of the fossil fuel era. So there are tools that can help young people meet each other virtually and turn these virtual efforts into real-world efforts. Tools like We Don't Have Time is free for individuals to use and has been taken up. And we're seeing on our platform the use of the youth taking advantage of the tool and using it to connect, to share good ideas, to scale solutions. And without the efforts of the youth, a lot of the solutions that we have in the pipeline and that are already here that just need to be better deployed, we're not going to see that go into fruition. So we absolutely need the effort from the youth, and they can move private interests, they can move governance. We're seeing it happen.
Africa has done little to create the climate crisis, yet the famine in Madagascar and water crises in southern Africa are evidence the continent is already paying a price. Ayaka Melithafa is a teenager from South Africa, and she got involved in climate activism after drought impacted her family farm. I asked her why it's so important for young people to get involved.
It's important for young people to get involved in the climate justice battle because we are the ones that are going to inherit the planet. We are the ones that are currently inheriting the planet. And if we don't hold our elders accountable for their mistakes, then we are the ones that are going to be left to clean up a mess that we did not make. And it's quite important that we start now so that we can also help future generations behind us to actually live consciously and build resilience for the fight against the climate inaction that's happening in our countries and in our world.
Global climate activists like yourself say they want to see more leadership on this crisis. They want to see action, not just promises. They want to see leaders act right now in implementing some of the proposals that we agreed to on the Paris Accords. What sort of action would you like to see?
I'd definitely like to see more young people on the streets protesting, asking these difficult questions, partaking in civil activities and making sure that we are active society, we are active citizens in society so that the people that are in places of power are not comfortable and that they hear the wrath of the youth and that they hear our struggle and that they hear our pain. That will urge them to make more impactful change and not just give us lip service because we are truly tired of that.
So, Zach, there's a lot of frustration among young people that global leaders are not acting fast enough. What needs to change?
To be honest with you, Anand, what needs to change is we need some large-scale corporate action and government action. Right now, young people were being told things like, oh, if you drink from a paper straw instead of a plastic straw, you're helping fight climate change. But the reality is, it's like throwing a pebble at an oncoming train. You know, little things that we do that we're being told to make changes in our lives, they're not actually really making meaningful difference. We need legislation. We need large changes. We need certain chemicals and products to be banned, and we need to find other solutions on a large scale. And we need to put pressures on the people who are in power to make these changes happen.